There are many people in prison today in Iran simply because of their social media postings. After the killing of Gina Mahsa Amini in September of 2022, demonstrations and protests began in Iran and lasted for over a year. There were a total of at least 529 people who were killed by the police and the authorities as a result of those demonstrations, and over 20,000 people were imprisoned. So amidst such turmoil, it would be easy to overlook what has happened to the Baha'i community, which is much smaller, obviously. It's less than 1% of the population of Iran. And yet it has borne the brunt of severe persecution for now 44 years. Specifically, since a month before the demonstrations began in 2022, there have been over 600 incidents of persecution directed against the Baha'i community. And these incidents have included things such as raids on people's homes,
the revoking of passports,
forced evictions,
the demolishment of homes,
arrests and detentions,
denial of education,
property confiscations,
exclusion from employment,
confiscations of farmland,
the targeting of private music teachers,
beatings,
torture, interrogations,
refusals to permit Baha'is to bury their dead,
the forcible retention of bodies in morgues, and an extensive project of relentless hate speech. These are not only abhorrent violations of human rights, but they require a sophisticated and extensive machinery in order to implement it.
The persecution is not so much about what the Baha'is have or have not done, but it is about the ideological need for an authoritarian, if not totalitarian system to create imaginary enemies which can justify its regime of repression, corruption, and violence. And this goes back, in effect, to the very early days of the Baha'i faith in the 19th century and its predecessor, the Babi faith, where the famous poetess Tahireh, who famously unveiled herself, much to the consternation of the men in that particular assembly, was put to death by the rulers of the time. But immediately prior, she had famously said that you can put me to death, but you can not stop the emancipation of women in Iran. There is a direct link from those powerful words of Tahireh in the 19th century to the execution of the 10 women in Shiraz, to the woman life freedom movement. What is remarkable is the awakening of the Iranian people to an understanding that the persecution of the Baha'is is not just the problem of the Baha'is. It's the problem for all Iranians who want to create a democratic future based on a culture of human rights, based on the rule of law. So long as those in power can condition the enjoyment of human rights on whether the rulers approve of one's faith or political belief or what have you, then all Iranians are going to suffer. The emancipation of the Baha'is is about the emancipation of Iran.